Hello and welcome back to part 23 of how to make a HexTile board game in Unreal Engine 5. In the last video we started working on some of the capture mechanics for the sacred sites and getting that information to populate up in these player cards. So as you see what we're playing as, blue Alex, we capture, that shows up for um, both the host and the client. And it works for both. Bring this guy over there. Boom, 1-1, 1-1. And where we left off is when you capture enough to win the game, which the way I have this set up is if you hold the majority, so 2 out of 3, you win. We just have the simple print string. And that's what we want to work on now, because in this scenario where Alex, blue player, captures 2 of the 3, he should win the game, it should be over, is how I'm doing my game logic. So where that's currently being done is from our game mode, when we set the number of sacred sites to the player controller, that's being sent, and then we're just doing some simple logic. If that number of sites owned, if the length of that from the array is greater than 1, then we just print string. So instead, what we'll do is, if that's true, we'll run some logic back to the game mode, and we'll tell everybody who won. And to start with that, I want to actually make the widget. So let's go into our A main widgets. I'll make a new one, so right click and user interface widget. And let's do a user widget. And I'm going to call this game over widget. So open that up. And the first thing I want to do here is add in a canvas panel. Okay. And really, this will be pretty simple, but right, I'll just say game over, X player won, Bob or Jim or whoever it is. So I think we can do that with a vert box. And I'm going to anchor that in the center. I think it's something like 500 by 500. So maybe minus 250, minus 250. Get there in the middle for the positions. And we're going to do a text box. This first one is just simply going to say game over. I'm going to put that right in the center and make it 36 or something. And actually, we can do one more thing too. Right click on the, we'll do it. Right click on the vert box, and we'll wrap with a border. And I forget, but do we have any cool textures in here? No, which is fine. We can always come back and do that later. I'm just going to give it a brush color like a dark gray or something, and then a little bit of opacity. Okay, just something for it. So we'll have game over, and then I'm trying to think like game over, I don't know. I'm just trying to think like what do I want to say, like player, Bob won or winner is. We'll come back to it. For now, what I'm going to do is we're going to do a horizontal box. I'm just going to do name, and then we'll also show the color too. We'll make this a fill center line, and actually I'll have this do vertical. And in here, I'm going to put a size box. In the size box, I'm going to put a border. And then we'll put a text on the other side. Like this. Scale this down, maybe to 24. I'm going to fill both of these. Size box, fill. Put this in center. And then for our size box, let's make it, I don't know, let's do it like 75. It's like, I'm just going to make this the color of the player. I'm going to vertically align this. Okay, so I think something like this, and then it's a game over this first game. Of this, we're going to put a button, our vert box, and we'll drop a text under here, and this text will just say return to main menu. Make it something like 20, so a bit smaller. And this button, shrink that down a little bit. We'll do this logic later because obviously we don't have a main menu quite yet. But once we do, this is how we'll actually return. I'll just make it red for now. So logic to fill in later. In this border, yeah, we'll just do a binding for that. Okay, so pretty simple. I'm going to give this game over some slight padding, maybe 20 off the top. I'll do the same with the back button, 20 off the bottom. I'm going to name this button main menu. Cool. And then let's go into a graph. And let's make a couple variables. The first will be winning player name. Let's make that text. And the other one I want is winning player color. And I think this is going to be of type brush. Let's just try brush and see if we can make that work. So player name, this is going to be bound to the winning player name. And this border within our size box, brush, yeah, okay, so it's not picking up here. Brush, color maybe? Actually, I think it's a slate brush. Let's see. Yeah, okay. From the player color, yeah. So make sure your winning player color is of type variable slate brush. And then we'll make that slate brush, we'll bind it to this border here. Good. And I probably don't need these. I'm trying to debate if we want them exposed on spawn or we just set them in here. We'll leave it for now and come back. So what we'll do now is, so we have our player controller. If it's greater than 1, I think we probably, let's see, I gotta remind myself how this logic works. I'm trying to think if I wanted to handle this logic somewhere in the game mode, but I don't think it's necessary. So I'm going to delete this print string, and this is running on the server. So if this is greater than 1, we're going to come back to our game mode, and I want to make a new function, and we're just going to simply call it game over. And then depending on the player controller that's running this, so that'll be our first input into this function, we'll do PC turn based. From there, we can get their info and name and such to pass to the widget. So winning player, or more accurately, maybe winning PC for player controller. And come off this, get the S player info. And this could actually be the variable we pass through to the new widget we made, because really all that's going to happen, well, we'll get to it. So we have this. What we really care about is our S player info. I want to grab our player controller list. So get this, do a for each loop. So hold F, left click, pass this through. And what I want to do now is flip back to our player controller. Let's just do this logic really quick. And our player controller is grab our game mode. If this is true, we control more than one. Game over. And we'll pass our self through, get reference self. Okay. And we'll make a new event. I'm trying to think if we have a better place to put it. Down here is fine for now. So custom event, this will be game over client. And this will run on owning client, be reliable. And we'll have an input that will be the player info. So as player info, let's call this winning info. So whoever won, their info will pass through. And after this event, we will create a widget. And this widget will be the one we just created, the game over widget. And I'll grab self again. Now the only thing I'm thinking about here is we have this player info. What we need is the color of the player and the player name. I'm just trying to think, should we pass the whole structure through or break it up? Instead, we'll do this via the we'll bring the whole player info through. And the reason for that is then it'll be easier to add more stuff to this widget. So let's come back to our widget. Let's make a new variable. Let's call this winning player info. And this will be of type S player info. Bucket type. There we go. File save. And this is important. Make it instance editable and expose on spawn. Compile. Change right that up. And now come back to our player controller. And if you don't see it here, just go File, refresh all nodes. Now you should see that variable show up down here. We'll pass that through from the event. Then we will add to viewports. I'm going to do one other thing in here too that we haven't done with our widgets. Is I'm going to set game mode. Is it called? Set game UI maybe. Okay, yeah. Set input mode UI only. The reason I'm doing this is this will just be a really simple way that once the game's over, this widget will pop up and you can't move around anymore. You can't move your players, any of that, or your armies. You might choose not to do this, maybe you still want the player to be able to kind of still navigate the map. So maybe I'll come back to this, but I'm just going to do that for now. And our widget in focus will be our game over. Okay. Let me just go back to my game mode. Okay, yeah. So then come back to the game mode, and off this for each loop, we will do the game over client. Connect this, and pass through the S-player info. And that'll run all of this. Then back into our widget. I think off of the construct, this will work fine. So we can grab this S-player info, break it. And first thing we do is grab the winning player name, set that to this. And we have to get the player color. So let's do a function, player color. I'm actually going to steal some logic. I think in our not S-player info, player card. In this widget, right, we have some really good logic here. Really simple, but we can just steal it. We'll switch on end, come back to the game over widget, paste that. And what we'll be switching on is this player index, which we actually don't have a variable for, which is fine. We can just grab this function, and this player color function will add an input, which will be an integer. Let's call that player index. And pass that through, come into here, connect that, and go set. See, it's not set, it is, how do I get to the color? Okay, interestingly enough, let me redo this quick. It's actually a better way to do this. Okay, so your screen probably looks like this, and then when you try to compile, you can't, or you might be able to, but these aren't variables. And these are actually linear colors instead of the slate color we have. So yeah, when you compile, you have these issues. So actually do this, create this as a variable. I'll add down here, player color. I'm just gonna switch it to winning player color. I'll do 1 for now. Delete the old one we have. The linear color actually works. So switch that to normal. This end. And you probably still have an issue because we have to switch our binding. So come back into your designer and just remove this binding and then this brush color. You can set this as the winning player color. So either the slate color or the linear color works, but this is actually just a little bit easier, I think. So, and then we just use it's already set here. So I think this should work. Let's give it a try. So capture 1, moment of truth, beautiful. Game over, and UI mode actually didn't do what I thought it would, because we can still do things. It keeps spawning it. But yeah, so game over, player color gym, right? This yeah, definitely could have some improvement, but got that functionality. And I'm getting this error, set input mode, expects a valid player controller. So when we come back to the player controller, this is why this didn't work. So let's grab self and plug that into here. Now let's test this one more time. Come to here and here. Good. Yeah, so what this UI mode does is now you can't navigate anymore, right? You can't alter things going on around you. Right, and ends the game. So I think this is fine for my purposes, but again, maybe you want to do something different, but that's what that does. And then we'll add in the functionality here. Right, and Eventually, I think we'll come back to this and maybe we have a ranking, like, well, this would only be 1 and 2, but in a 4-player game, you maybe show everybody's stats, something like that. There's more we can do. And as long as we're putting into our player info, we're bringing that um, into our widget. So it's very scalable. But yeah, really, that's it for this video. Super short. I am going to immediately make the next one. The next one is going to be to add in mines and farms into the player card. So similar to what we did with the sacred sites, but just have that there. And then we'll start building off that into more of the economy stuff. But wanted to finish up this widget part first, and then kind of come back to the next step. So yeah, that's it for today. Yeah, like and subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions. Leave a comment below. Again, we got the Discord going. I'll put that link in the description, but good place to go and ask questions, and you can drop images and stuff. So yeah, thanks.